Okay, the date is August 17th. This webinar is just to make up from our last week's Thursday, the 15th webinar, since I was not available, and I know a lot of you guys weren't. So I just wanted to go through what we had on the lesson plan. It looks like today we're doing the simplified cash flow check-in with students' work. So remember in webinar 2 and summer session 1, we had concluded and we conducted a simplified cash flow model, but we went through it very fast. We just kind of really quickly went over it. Now, the objective in this is to go more in depth with the actual definitions on the SEC statement. I wanted you guys to have a better understanding. Remember that when we do our cash flow model, all we're doing is we're not actually looking at the cash flow statement. I just call it simplified cash flow model, just because it's not a discounted cash flow model. I just simplify it that way. But we look at income statement and we look at balance sheet, and that way we can conduct a understanding with the terminal value of a company, and then we take that value, we'll divide it by shares outstanding, and we get a stock price. But before that, we have to get all of the data. So I'm just going to show you guys, we're going to do a run through, and today we're going to do I believe, yeah, Abanov's first report, which was on Barnes Group. So today we're gonna do that. I just selected this at random. I'm I To be honest, I have never heard of Barnes Group until Abanov had created his report on it. It is a very interesting company. So we're gonna do that. Pharmaceutical. All right. So just gonna do a full guide, full walkthrough. Remember that um, when I posted our webinar 2 for summer session 1, the actual spreadsheet, it's on the uh, it's on the Slack. I'm gonna add it to the actual video too. I'll add it to this video too, so you guys have easy access to that. The spreadsheet that we're using today, which looks something like this. Let's see. Gotta make a copy still. Trying to do this fast just because I only have a certain amount of time on the recording as well. So I think it's on my other account. Sorry. Wait, let's see. Sheets. Yeah, here it is. All right. Let me just grab a water. All right. So when we did this the first time, like I said, we just went really fast. We did not go through each term on the SEC. My simplified cash flow model is really built for you guys. By doing this, it just saves a lot of time and a lot of understanding. I mean, to fully understand these models, it takes months, and just by doing this, it's really just sums up everything and just makes it easier for you guys. So that's just the importance and why it looks so small, but it does provide enough information to make a forecast. Um, let's see. All right. So remember, we have this key. It tells you where to fill in information. So if it's a green, we're filling it in. If it's red, we're not filling it in. So just to note that. We're going to go on to the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. Remember that companies have to report their, well, US-based companies have to report their 10Q and 10K forms, which are quarterly and annual reports every quarter and year. They're required by the government to do that. So these are official financial statements. I'm also going to pull up Yahoo Finance, just so I have an understanding of what each number means. So I know you guys might wonder like why I type in all these values. Like, can't I just copy and paste everything from Yahoo? I mean, yes, you can, but when we're actually typing the stuff in, we learn a lot. So that's the most important part. That's why I type the stuff in. I am trying to actually automate this process eventually. I'm building a dictionary and then I'm hoping to transport that into code. But that's going to take almost a year, so that's not coming up anytime soon. Just gonna scroll down here. So once we get onto our SEC, this is just a split screen right here, so I can type my data in. So what we're looking for is once you're on the SEC, see all this stuff, come down to here. Here's the glossary, and we can click on each part, or the index, not the glossary, I'm sorry. We're looking for consolidated financial statements. So here, they should be under here. Yep, consolidated statements of income, solid statements of comprehensive income, balance sheet, our cash flows. So we got those three statements. Those are what we need today. All right, so we're going to start by looking at our model. Remember, this model is in the link in the description of this video. This is the model we use. So our company today is Barnes Group Inc. So company symbol will be B. Oops. Oh yeah. Oh my God. Losing my mind. Gotta make a copy. Put this around. Yeah, you'll probably have to make a copy of this. Just there we go. Okay, so we'll type in B, our symbol. We know that exchange should be NYSE. Yep. The sector is, I think it's pharmaceutical. Let me double check Abhinov's report. Let's see. Here it is. And let's see what he said about this. It is in the industrials products and aerospace. Not know why I was thinking it was pharmaceutical. Right. And then the current price today is $38.11. Oops. The dividend yield should be on our front page, the summary. I mean, you can calculate that, but I just type it in from here. For a dividend yield, I'll use that one, 1.66%. So it just going off the start, it's not a bad dividend. I believe Barnes Group is more of a growth company, so it's nice that they have the dividend. Our market cap is 1.935 billion. And what I'm also going to do while typing that in is I'm going to look at what they're placing their data in. So it's going to be in thousands. So that would be 3 zeros over. So all these numbers represent dollars in thousands. So also when I type in my market cap right here, I'm going to assume my numbers in thousands. So let's do that. Let's see. I wish this was Excel. I just we use Sheets just because we obviously don't want to pay for Excel. Don't have the funding. Would be nice. Let's see. Try that. There we go. And does seem like I'm doing work that you can copy and paste, but like I said, when we do this, we learn a lot. So we got 1, 2, 3. God, this is 100,000s, millions. This still represents billions, so we're just gonna get rid of 3 zeros. There we go. So that represents let's see, $1,935,000, but since we're in thousands, that will represent 1,935,000,000. So just the added 3 zeros. Our cash, since this is a red box, it will fill in automatically because of the formula. Our total revenue down here, we're gonna fill in. Let's see. So we got consolidated statements of income. Go to fiscal year 23, most recent. Our net sales right here. So 145. Just type it in like you see on Yahoo. 450871 1261 868. Got that. 1258846. Got that. Let's see. And then this should have cost of sales. My bad, guys. Let's see. We can add that real quick. I'll add this to the model too. So what I wanted to include, I think this was my old version. We can just add this real quick though. It's no biggie. We're going to do cost of goods sold, and then we're going to do gross profit. I'll add that. Oops, wrong column. Gross profit. So I'll make sure that's included on our template since this was the copy of it. Do that real quick. Gross profit. So we got for cost of goods sold, it's going to be 1,008,786. Our gross profit will be cost of goods sold. Let's see, get that. Whoops. Make sure that formula's in there as well. It's gonna be it's gonna look a little different for you guys once you look at the template since we're redoing this a little bit. Oops. Oh my god. Okay, is that right? 5. Oh yeah, I did an extra 0 here. There we go. We're gonna put this formula over. This will be, oops, this will be green. And the sky will be red. I'm not, and I'm just a little scrappy here just because I don't typically use Google Sheets. Just like I said, preferably Excel is better. You guys can use Excel. We're just using this because everyone has access to the sheets. It's free. But it's just really cool too because all of these websites are free. And I mean, this is more than enough information that can conduct research on a company. If you spend the time, this free stuff can make you lots of money. So more than enough information. 13479. I mean, myself, I am personally self-taught in finance. Learned a lot. I don't have anyone in my family that's like particularly involved in finance, so my stuff is self-taught. I think that's the same for Ion too. All right, I'm just typing in these numbers. So we have this looks tedious. I would say yeah, sometimes it is, especially when you can't find data. But I don't have a problem with it. I just do it. Complain. All right. So, all right. So what I just did is I typed in. Let me expand this. Our total revenue. Our cost of goods sold, our formula got the gross profit. Total revenue minus cost of goods sold is gross profit. And then our net income as well, but you'd minus operating expenses and other taxes and interest. So then you would get your net income. I don't actually write down all of these values just because it really saves you guys time. When we do all these values, it adds an extra 2 hours of time spent on these reports. If you really need these values, I mean, you can include them, but we just exclude them just to speed up the process because you guys have stuff to do. This is obviously looking at Parents Group. They're selling in administrative expenses. That is obviously not the top of your list of things to do. So we should definitely we use this just to speed up our process. So, but I can't explain, I'm going to explain each part of this. So net sales, and net sales is also revenue. We all know revenue. Cost of sales, so cost of goods sold, that can be anything from um, the actual piece that the like so when a company sells something, obviously they had to pay something to buy the thing they sold. So that's just your cost of sales. But there is also operating costs, which are other parts of it. We'll go through those. So a selling and administrative expense is going to be it's going to be all of the like the people that you go through. So obviously when you sell something like what they're selling these big aerospace things, they have to have people that know a lot about it. So that's basically what selling administrative is, those people, those salaries and stuff. Our operating income is any income that is made from these operations because that's just the formula would be this net sales minus all of these other charges. So once we minus those, we get operating income. Interest expense is any interest. So obviously companies hold a lot of debt, and interest expense is what you would have to pay for your debt. And that's included there. And also it includes other derivative securities that the companies hold. Other expense can really be anything. A lot of the times it's like equipment, property, plant. They don't always include a spot for that, so that can be anything. Income before income taxes, we just subtract those and we don't include taxes yet. Our income taxes are what the company pays. Looks like, what's the rate? We can check. Oh, they're paying quite a bit in taxes, actually. Yeah, that's interesting. Some of these companies like to dodge taxes, and they do that in ways that it's not unethical because obviously they're allowed to do it, but it's interesting how they can do that. But yeah, moving down, finally we have net income. We subtract all those. Net income is also it's well, no, net income is its own column. Operating income is a little similar to EBIT. If you guys use those abbreviations, earnings before interest and taxes. Um, our so our earnings per share is just your net income. It's divided by your shares outstanding, and we get those each quarter as well, and also year. We are looking at fiscal years, so that's important to know. But they really consolidate this a lot. There's not a lot of stuff on here. Obviously, like a more comprehensive version of this has a lot more information, so it's just kind of interesting. Next we move down to balance sheet. So we're going to keep this statement open. Um, and we're going to look at balance sheet. So assets. So the company has a total assets of oh my God, I can't. What is it? 3 billion? It's like it. Let's see what I'm trying to think about this. Yeah, it would be 3 billion. All right. So it's decent. Not too bad. Really increased those assets between 2022 and 2023. I think Abhinav might have included something about that. All right, total cash, cash and cash equivalents. So when I do total cash, what I typically do as well is I'll check on the SEC statement, but then I'll also check on Yahoo to see what they say because our cash isn't always just cash and cash equivalents. Sometimes it's things like marketable securities, notes, and stuff like that, because those are all liquid. When we talk about cash, we're talking about stuff that can easily be converted to cash. So it's not just cash itself. So our current assets, yep, it looks like they just only include that 89,827. So that should be good for cash. We're going to move down to liabilities. We do not have to really talk about equity when we're creating this model. So let's see, it looks like the total stockholder equity, we can just, let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take their liabilities and subtract our equity. So 36,263. Did I miss a number? Yeah, I did. 2. All right, there we go. And we're gonna equal that. So then we got that. Then we're gonna do this one. Got 2,413, 730 minus R's equity. 6327. Hope I make the recording time on Yahoo. All right, our total debt. We might actually, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna actually I won't update all of this information just because it's gonna take a really long time. I don't think I'll make the recording time. Total assets. All right, so we got those years. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. And then we're gonna look at debt. So debt is also a little hard to find sometimes. Typically liabilities and stockholders' equity is of course where you're going to find it. We want to look at our current debt first. So we got the 10,868. So when I say current debt, when they establish current and non-current, current is typically you have to pay within a year. Non-current is after that. Any long-term debt as well. But when in our debt calculation, we kind of look at both. So we're gonna do that. To add 1437 and also our 569. Yeah, so they definitely did take on some sort of purchase or something. So their assets and their debt changed a lot. I believe Abhinav said something about that. Just don't remember the specifics. All right, so we kind of got that with the balance sheet. We got those 2 years done. We would have to look at the other report on the SEC for the other values, but basically all you do is the same thing. You just go over, you get each year and you type them in. So that's not too bad. Just quickly, let's look at some of these values. So consolidated balance sheet. All right, so we start with assets. Our assets are all right here. So from here to here, this is all assets. So current assets, so those, like I said, anything that is like most current, you have liquidity with it. Typically, they assume like a year's worth of time. That's pretty like dynamic with how that's phrased also. But accounts receivable, so we're expecting this amount in the next year. Inventories, these are the inventories. That's just included here. It doesn't really have to do with a year, 1 year time frame. Our prepaid expenses and other current assets. Those would be any sort of expenses on those assets, and also current assets. Or I'm sorry, prepaid expenses are kind of what other companies are giving to this company. Other current assets are also anything else. They can't always include things because they try and consolidate this. So there's other assets they don't include. So that sums up our total current assets. So we get a value there. And then we look at deferred income taxes. Deferred, when we say deferred, we mean at a later date. So when we say deferred income taxes, those income taxes will probably be paid. I believe that this would be on the receivable column, so paid to the company at a later date. Property, plant, and equipment is anything that the company uses to make the goods. They do assume a depreciation expense on those because a building, for example, would last you like 30, 50 years or something like that. So it kind of what they do is they take the depreciation of the building and they spread it out over a certain amount of years because obviously like I don't know, for example, JP Morgan, they just built a $4 billion building in New York City, but they don't include that all at once on their statement. They include it over time. So they spread that out. So property, plant, equipment, anything that can be used to make your goods, any buildings, stuff like that, even a computer, anything. Goodwill. Goodwill is any a name brand. So your trademarks, your patents, anything that allows your company to substantiate itself and allows it to hold its position in the market. So when I think about that, the most of the time we're thinking of things like, for example, Coca-Cola. Everyone knows Coca-Cola. So they try and create this value of what it means to own Coca-Cola's like actual name, because everyone knows Coca-Cola. So that's kind of like a thing like that. Also things like patents, like I said. So that's included there. It's just an asset, of course. Intangible assets. When I think of tangible assets, I think like things like bonds, stuff like that. Other assets are anything else. They're typically the most illiquid positions. That's why they're included at the very bottom. And then once we're done with that, we sum up all of our assets and we get those total assets. Liabilities and stockholders' equity, current liabilities. So we'll start there. We have notes and overdraft payables. Also, before I get to that, current liabilities, similar thing with current assets. You kind of have that 1 year time frame. Notes and overdrafts payable. Um, okay. So I think notes might be included in debt. See, all right, so you just came across like one of the problems I kind of have with these SEC statements. When I'm actually filling in all of these values, it's very difficult sometimes to understand what each thing is doing. So that's why I'm kind of creating that dictionary and also that code to automate this process. But that's going to take a while. So we're just gonna check real quick just before we move on. So we're gonna go to balance sheet, double check our total debt. So fiscal year 2023, it looks like they have 1,003, 1,300,000. Let's see. Yeah, we might have to include that. Notes. Want to make sure that's matched. We got that, right? Yeah, we did. Like this is probably the difficult part most of the time. 16. Trying to think if any of these other things would be debt. This one, long-term equity, 646. I mean, sometimes Yahoo's wrong. I mean, if I can't find the data here, then Yahoo might be wrong. Doesn't look like it can. I'm not sure what they're assuming is also total debt. Um, they actually could be wrong on this. I mean, Yahoo's not perfect. They kind of copy and paste and don't really look over everything all the time. We can try this tax liability, maybe. That might be a part of that. 2170. No, it doesn't look like it. So I think yeah, Yahoo might have missed something, or I may be missing something. Don't think that would. Let's try that. Let's just try that number real quick. No, it doesn't look like it. Okay, I think Yahoo might have messed up there because my debt calculation is different, and I can't find any other numbers that would assume that it should be what Yahoo is presenting. So yeah, so it looks like Yahoo's wrong. That's not a big deal. That happens a lot. Yahoo's not always perfect, so we're just gonna keep our values. Cash flow statement. Actually, so what, like I said, we're just gonna skip that. Won't even include it. Um, it's really, I think a lot of people find it crazy that I don't look at cash flow statements. But I mean, when we're doing this, what advanced equities we want to do is teach our students how to do stuff quickly. We want them to have a brief understanding of everything. A lot of you guys are busy, so this by skipping that cash flow statement, it just makes all of your lives easier because we actually want to get stuff done. We don't want to be stuck on something. All right, so this is all in thousands, all these values. So I did that. And I don't want to make this too long because I know our recording will end. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys real quick on SEC. Just want to make sure everyone knows this. So just again, when you're looking up your 10K and 10Qs, we can find up here. You can view all of the 10Ks and 10Qs. So Yahoo, if you are getting some of your data from here, Yahoo only goes to 2020 for free data. And then after that, what I recommend is you come onto here and then you look at your data here because this gives you infinitely many data sets. You can look at as many data sets as you want. So we can go all the way back to 2019. So we'll go down here. Let's see. Financial statements. So it's a little different, the formatting, but you would need this data if you were to finish this. I'm not going to finish it right now. If you were to finish this, you would look at this document because you need 2018's data. So that's really important. That's where we get our data. We get it from the SEC. That has to be filed. That's where the data is. So those statements are great. Right. So I think I'm approaching almost 30 minutes on those. So let's see. Let's go. Yeah, let's just do this. So we're gonna go to if we have a completed one here. Might have to go in my Excel. So Excel, it's the same thing as Sheets. It's just way easier to use. I really, it's more preference. It is paid, so that's why we use Sheets. Really wish we could use Excel, but that's all right. I believe this guy is. Do that. Hmm. Hmm. All right. So this one, we don't have the color coding, but all of the data's are already filled in. This is a different company. The only reason I didn't do Barnes is it's gonna take a while to get all that data. So this just makes it easier. So this is a completed utilities company. It was the Southern company. And this is just a look at what your thing will look at when you're finally done. I also included some notes up here. I really wanted to understand um, where each segment of their operating revenue was from and how they were making their revenues. So that's just something else to look at. Um, you don't have to do this. This is just something I thought was important to this utilities company. Um, all right. So when we get to the actual forecast of the company, most of the data is like already automated because we can use those Excel formulas. But what I do for these is for fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25, fiscal year 26, fiscal year 27, 28, 29, and 30 is what I do is I apply my forecast. So during this period is when I forecast different values, okay? Now these values I assume based on how I expect the industry to do. Like I said in webinar two, there is no like foolproof math where you can prove what's going to happen in the future. I really wish there was. That would be great, but there's not. So what you have to do is just kind of make estimates. Now, I estimate that the Southern Company, based on their past growth in the past years, and based on trends in the utility sector, I assume that in fiscal year 21, they will take their net income and increase by 20%. Their net income will increase by 20%. And then I expect in fiscal year 25, 30% increase. And how did I come up with these? Like I said, I just made it up because these are estimates. You can't get it spot on, you can't predict the future, but I make these estimates with other information about the utility sector. So for example, like Coca-Cola, I wouldn't be expecting their revenue or their net income to increase by 30%. It really all depends on what the company is. And that's why we have you guys complete research on the sector, on the company, and that's so that you have an understanding of what's happening in that sector. Um, and then as I looks like what I did here was in fiscal year 26, I brought it down a little bit. I still expect growth for the company. Um, Going forward, fiscal year 27, I drop it a little bit more, a little consistent, and then from there we go down. Um, what I want you guys to avoid is not being like super crazy with your estimates. Don't say that in fiscal year 29, they're gonna increase by 50% their net income. I mean, there are some exceptions, of course, if it's like a project that's actually due then. But like, don't just put in like 50% here, because obviously the company's not going to grow 50%. I mean, it might, there's of course like NVIDIA, like stuff like that happens, but you can't make assumptions like that without actually like an understanding of what's going to happen in fiscal year 29. So don't make crazy over the scale estimates, forecast estimates, because then your model's going to get really messed up. But then after fiscal year 30, so after this highlighted area, what I do is apply something called the maturity value. As the years go by, the company is obviously, I hope it still exists, but we apply this -1% because we assume that we can't really forecast after fiscal year 31. So we slowly just depreciate the net income, and that's the idea of that terminal value. As you go on, you can't really understand fully if the company is going to stay alive. We don't know in fiscal year 50 if the company is going to be around anymore. It may be one of the biggest companies in the world then, but we can't make assumptions like that because that's too outside of the curve. You can't make assumptions like that when you're estimating risk. That's a really radical assumption, unless you have proof to back that. Um, Also, what I do here is I know that I don't believe you guys. So you should, so this maturity value should already be there in the model. Discount rate is, we've covered that in a different video. We covered that in webinar 1. So if you want to, or webinar 2, I'm sorry, webinar 2, we covered that. So if you want to know more about that, then you can go back and watch that to understand what the discount rate is. Same thing with net present value. That's just a formula. Net cash, just your cash minus your debt. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Cash minus that. I'm losing my mind. Okay. And then of course your total value. We also covered that in webinar 4, so you can go back and watch that. And then after doing all of that, we get a per share terminal value of, it looks like 7. So it really looks like, let's see. Let me make sure this is all right. I mean, let's see. So actually this one, oh yeah, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. This is the one I was having problems with. Let me show you guys this one real quick so we can get a real per share terminal value. Okay, so this one, same thing, just a different company. The per share terminal value I got was $92.70. So I expect that any, not the Southern company anymore, this company, Next Era Energy, I believe, who was it? Suez did a report on this, so that was interesting that he chose that. But when I did my forecast on this company, I found a terminal value, so I expect the stock to be worth $92.77. That's what I think the fair value of the stock should actually be, not the $70.81. So that just kind of shows how you can use the model to very quickly estimate a forecast for the stock price. Remember, we have all of this data, like we were doing with Barnes Group. I did the same thing here. I entered all that data, and then I got that value. Um, so what I would do is I'll make sure I update that Google Sheet so it'll look a little bit different, but same thing. It'll probably look something more like this, just to make it easier. But I go up to fiscal year 41, and then I stop that maturity value then. So that just I think that sums up the video. I just wanted to go over again, really go through it, actually go through it, and we did that with Barnes Group. But from here, that's really all I have today. So just remember, you can use the SEC, and that's it. Thank you guys.